Hello, how are you? Welcome once again to the GMT Podcast, where we discuss the housing crisis, its effects, problems, and possible sustainable solutions. On today's episode, we talk to guests that have been affected by the crisis, both negatively and positively. According to a statement by the Immigration Ministry, the government was to curb the number of international students in 2025, but students are still coming in and facing the crisis, and one of them is our guest today.
My name is Brian Tom.
And what course do you do at Conestoga College?
I studied web development.
How many years have you been in Canada? When did you come to Canada?
I came to Canada September 2024.
So when you came to Canada, describe the process like when you went into Canada. Do you already have housing planned?
Okay, like when I came to Canada, I never made reservations for where I was going to stay. So when I landed, I had to look for someone to accommodate me for a period. Then during that time, I went on to search for houses. And while I was doing the search, I noticed that lots of houses here got to be very expensive. So compared to the amount I usually pay in Nigeria, where I came from, it's been that if I get to pay the amount I was told for rent here, over there I'll get a very good and nice place. Well, that's being one of the problem I faced while trying to get a house. And secondly, the houses I saw around when I was searching were very little. They were not spacious enough. So that's been another issue I had because for me, I'm used to like a bigger space to stay. The bigger and spacious rooms we have in Nigeria.
So when you say you got a house, did you get like a house at like a building? Did you get like an apartment, or you got like a house, a standalone house?
Okay, I actually got a house. I later settled down to getting a house in an apartment.
Oh,
Yeah.
in an apartment or a house?
It was in an apartment.
In an apartment, okay. So when you looked for a house in Canada, did you get like a professional? Did you get like a realtor, or you found from friends? You had to get from friends.
Okay, I didn't get from a realtor.
Yeah.
I had to talk to friends.
Yeah.
Especially friends from Nigeria. So
Yeah.
they were the ones who gave me recommendations where to go search for houses. And they recommended some buildings and gave me numbers to contact me.
So when you contacted these buildings, were they very flexible, or they told you, "Oh, we need a lease, we need all this"?
It was like an hassle for me because compared to Nigeria, you could just walk and meet the owner of the house, that's the landlord, and you talk an agreement with him, you decide and end up things, then they give you an agreement to sign, so you get to pay your money, and when you're ready, you move in. But for here, like there were so many processes, and I just had to do whatever I was asked to do because without doing them, you wouldn't get the house.
So would you say that most of your friends who come in struggle with that same problem, or you don't sure?
Yeah, I think since it's like some like almost the buildings here, like they have some processes of you getting a house. So I feel everyone gets to experience such before they could get an apartment to stay.
Is there anything you would wish the government of Canada could do to improve the situation, especially for students?
Okay, what I would say concerning that would be that as a student, you moved to another country for most of us for the very first time. So getting to pay for rent here, I see that it's actually very expensive paying for rent monthly, and especially when we're not used to even paying rent monthly. And I think for students, it actually gets to affect us because every month you get to think of how to get money to pay for your rent. And with that, I would feel maybe if the Canadian government can, if not like do any other thing, but they could try like to reduce or to make sure that the amount we pay for rent like is being reduced for students. I think if they actually do that, it will really help, like, to keep the students' mind focused in the education they actually came here for.
Our next guest is an investor broker in the Waterloo region. What's your name?
My name is Jeff Katumba, and I'm a registered realtor here in Waterloo region. I've been a realtor for the last 2 years. I've been an investor in the field for the last 18. And after that, I thought, 2 years ago, I pivoted and went into real estate sales, and I'm registered as a broker in the region of Waterloo.
So what are the major problems? What major problems are facing the real estate sector?
Currently, really, the major problems have been the slowness of the market. But you have to look at the market from two different angles, or three. We have the sellers, who will be the people that own real estate and want to sell. And then we have our buyers, people that want to get on the market. Then you have the investors that want to come into the real estate space to be able to make their money work for them. So if you're looking at the challenges faced by these different groups, they could be different. I'm assuming you want to know something about consumers, people that are willing or are wanting to get into the real estate space. Now, from a consumption point, some of the challenges have been 2 years ago, there was no inventory. Currently, we do have a lot of inventory, especially in the residential rental market, that are sitting quite empty due to a couple changes within the region. And those we can talk about. But one of those things were 2 years ago, 3 years ago, the rising cost of rents. And that was putting a huge pressure on people because there were very low housing and loss of demand. Currently, that has shifted now within the last almost coming to 8 months. We're seeing more open areas, high rises, especially high density residentials, are offering a lot more incentives for renters to be able to occupy those units. So the crisis really may not be right now supply in terms of residential rentals. It may be a little bit of demand too, almost that we are in a little bit of a balanced market, but favoring more the people that are leasing. And that has come as a result in our region, looking at the data, is a concentration of student population here, as well as the technology sector and financial services that draw a lot of high professionals who are able, first of all, to afford renters. And they come on top of the market pile, so which is going to leave out a lot of people that will be renters with lower scale, say, in credit scores or rental history. The other thing has been this area has a concentration of a student population, especially international students that come here to access these education systems. However, when we've had lots of students, we've also increased the pressure on housing due to increased population, which in most cases, most landlords favor students, especially international students. They don't default often on their rent. They do not tend to have a lot of high demand on when they're using, rentals, especially those students that are international. They tend to take much better care of properties. And unlike our regular students with flat houses, and especially if they're girls, they're even favored more because they tend to look after their residential units much better. And some of those challenges are there. But currently, as the market sits, there's a little more rentals available. And the prices have shifted a little bit in favor of the consumers. The other challenge is that even when we've seen decreased rent, they're still higher compared to people's relative incomes. And those are the challenges that you're going to see or we see in this market.
What do you think can be done to make the price of rents be affordable compared to people's earning?
So affordability for prices of rents cannot really be determined by the people that are renting homes, who are landlords, whether corporations or individuals, because there are pressures on people that choose to go in and invest for extra residential to be able to provide housing. They want to be making a profit. However, the high interest rates from the banks that are lending people money to be able to borrow and then lease are so high. By the time a person purchases a building, go out to rent it, they're not even breaking even, or they're supplementing that building to be able to pay for the high mortgage rates. And those are huge challenges, which put away most of the people that will have a little bit of spare cash to be able to invest in residential housing. But because of our interest rates and the qualifications for extra mortgages has become too stringent and makes it difficult for investors to jump in. Cost of borrowing.
What do you think can be done to solve the problems of the housing crisis?
A lot can be done, especially in this region. I'm going to speak about region of Waterloo and Kitchener in particular, was to look back, I think, from 7 years ago and decided to look at the way their permitting for new zoning or redevelopment or intensification were looking like, and relaxed a lot of bylaws and legislations around that to be able to meet the crisis. In that, when you reduce one of the restrictions or the challenges of housing is our municipal government and our government requirements to people to get into either new developments, acquire the land by the time all the permits are done with. Those are huge, lengthy challenges. But reducing that red tape that developers have to go through to get those developments started is a good thing. The challenge now has been is the cost of borrowing money for investment. It's really high on most investors and developers at that. And if you have a slower market like we currently are having, you're borrowing at higher costs, and then your labor costs are higher and everything's expensive. It means that the person who is going to be footing that last bill is the person buying the house. And therefore, if those things don't shift to favor people that are willing to invest or buy real estate, we may be caught in this crisis for a little bit. The other area is taking away government policy. I know there's been a response from our federal government around immigration and reducing student populations. It's a good thing, but I don't think it's also a long-term plan because this province and this country does need the population. And if you're bringing people that are coming here to be able to work either in a technology industry and finances, those are high qualified people that we do need. When it comes to students, there's forward and backward linkages in that student populations, especially international students, do bring a lot of money. It's knowing how to be able to regulate that money and stays within those communities where these institutions operate to be able to cater to the development of these areas to increase population, whether by colleges or by developers. And governments of both ends at different levels being aware of that and doing really meaningful steps to be able to meet the needs can outset the requirement for housing in the years to come.
On this episode, we talked to two people who gave us an insight as people who are affected by the crisis and people who really live the crisis or have lived through the crisis. Once again, I'm Tumusime Graham, GMT Podcast.